13. Water fights and summer on their state. Back when the whole universe was just me and my mates. Hoping for a new adventure every time our phones would vibrate. Feels like summertime sex. Feels like being 18 and getting that my parents ain't home text. And you get home late with a smile on your face. Feels like freedom. Feels like friendship, being booed up. Feels like the world hasn't forgotten the meaning of true love. Calling strangers bruv. Feels like this feeling good. Feeling good.
4 октября 1957 года с космодрома Байконур стартовала ракета и вывела на орбиту первый в мире искусственный спутник Земли.
Космический корабль-спутник «Восток» с человеком на борту поднялся в космос и, совершив полет вокруг земного шара, благополучно вернулся на священную землю нашей Родины, страны Советов.
sind zurück. Wir dürfen uns endlich wieder mit anderen treffen. Unfassbar, oder?
Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is probably going to be my last video of this kind for this body of artwork. Now, I've been going down the truther rabbit holes, if you will, pretty much my whole life, but the last 15 or so years somewhat seriously. A few years ago, I came across Martin Kenny and his body of research and work based on who we are, what we are, where we're going, etc. And I was absolutely fascinated. What started out as a cool little art project to try to bring some of his models to life in a 3D environment, I found myself connecting all kinds of dots in life and relearning and de-learning, unlearning a lot of things I've learned over the years. I found it amazing how my art, or art in general, color theory, composition, perspective, perception, order, balance, harmony, all correlate to our existence here and our experience as humans, or rather spirits having a human experience. I've also been producing music for the last 25 years, and this sent me down beautiful bodies of knowledge in regards to the solfeggio frequencies, the 432 Hz, and other sacred frequencies which have been used over time in many ways, and how perverted our current state of media consumption is in regards to all of it being a beautifully designed cocktail to destroy your soul, depolarize you, and keep you hooked on a toxic intake with all of your senses. Anyway, music production, the sine wave. We all come from a sine wave. God, to me, is this guy right here. Energy, oscillations, multiple oscillations overlapping, patterns, etc. So I say all that to say, what started as a cool art project turned into a few masterpieces that got mirrored and mirrored and mirrored and translated and retranslated in many languages, and now sits as a cool body of work which I sit back, look at, and am absolutely fascinated by. Yes, I'm fascinated by my own work. Why? Because as I keep saying, it felt like this was not only guided, but I did it way too fast. I did it way too good. It turned out way too good ahead of its time, and is probably literally my biggest, best piece of art slash music slash multimedia slash research knowledge all put into one. And of course, all still based on Martin Kenny's research and us doing a yin-yang, a collective dance of energies to come up with these beautiful masterpieces. So first, a thank you to the universe and to Martin and to you guys. I feel like my palette of skill sets, my art making, my music making, my multimedia making skills are finally being used for their true purpose. These passion projects, as I call them, take a lot out of me, but also fill me with knowledge, a new way to experience this life, a new way to appreciate this experience as well. Okay, so the reason why I'm even doing this last video is this is a compilation of everything. And when I say everything, I mean a lot of stuff has been removed from YouTube. A lot of stuff has been removed from my channel. I actually even removed some of my own stuff at one point. So here I'm recompiling everything that I did, including new stuff you may not have seen before, into one long video. So when you look at the length of this video, no, it's not just one, it's a whole compilation of everything. So thank you again to this beautiful universe for choosing me as the conduit, and for showing me there are people in this world that do have eyes to see and ears to hear, and maybe our receptors are even a little broader, wider, and capable of receiving information that most can't, which in turn turns into prophetic work like we have here. So thank you again, and enjoy this long ass video.
Hi, my name is Martin Kenny. I'm a student of flat earth geocentric science, cosmology, astrology, anthropology, and spirituality. Over the last few years, I've dedicated my life to trying to rediscover and share the true secrets of who we are, and where we're going.
And my name is Norbzworld. I'm an artist, producer, and enthusiast of the divine arts and vibrations. I'm also a student of Martin's work and have the privilege of being his conduit to present this information to you in an engaging way. The yin to the yang of this beautiful body of knowledge, research, and intelligence. You ever wonder, who or what are we? And are there others like us? Where are we? And are there other places like this? When and how did we get here? And have we been here before? What are we doing? Why on earth are we here? How did all this life begin? And where are we going? On December 21st, 2018, join us as we explore these questions in detail. Our cosmic cycles of space, time, and matter of the past, present, and future, using syncretic research, combining scriptures, mythologies, holy books, science, cosmology, observable reality, and inner knowing. Mother Nature meets Father Time, a 168,000-year journey into our existence, our time capsule, our home. It's quarter past the 5th epoch. Do you know where your consciousness is? For those with eyes to see and ears to hear, the year 2020 marks one of the most important events in our history. Let us help you prepare, understand, and be aware of the changes to come in our world. Universal disclosure. The Master Oscillation. Welcome to the quick version of the Norb theory. If you guys find this interesting, I urge you to watch the full version. The link's in the description. So, a lot of controversy. Is it flat? Is it round? Are we spinning? Is there a curvature? Here's another theory. It kind of mixes both. Ancient Greek, Norse, and Hindu cosmology all focus on an orb as the universe. And after watching enough flat earth videos and a couple of these, I went down the rabbit hole of the cosmic egg. And after watching Martin's video, shout outs to you, bro, I decided to make a 3D version presentation of the whole thing with my own couple spins. I urge you to watch his videos too. Links will be in the description. So let's walk through how this universe may have started. Step 1. Out of the void, the Holy Trinity gets created. Birth, life, death. Repeat. Step 2. The Holy Trinity creates its womb to protect itself from itself, the void. Then the Trinity separates into 3. Positive, neutral, and negative. Next step, the cosmic vortex is created. This gives us our oscillations, our weather, our currents, our airflow, etc. Then, our actual Earth, the rock, a 3-level pyramid on both sides. We are on the 3rd plane. This gives us our 4 elements of life: air, earth, water, and fire. Up above, the galaxies and the stars and the firmament are put in place. Next, we have our toroidal fields. These electromagnetic fields protect and separate all the lands. They also oscillate at different speeds, giving us all our rotations of the different planets. Next, the suns and moons are put in place. 3 suns, 3 moons, with Mercury in the middle, acting as both a sun and a moon. And there you have it, Earth, the universe, within a multiverse, within a masterverse. We can't get past lower Earth orbit. That's that first toroidal field to the lands of Mars and Venus. The Antarctic is not the South Pole. The Antarctic is the perimeter around that first toroidal field. When they say they're going to outer space, it doesn't mean up. It doesn't mean to land on stars. You can't do that. It means to go outside the perimeter to outer lands. When they talk about alien life forms or other life forms, it means coming from these other lands. So who knows what's beyond those perimeters? That could be the land of the aliens. Maybe we're the aliens. Maybe the outer perimeter has even more life forms and resources and inhabitable land. Maybe some of us already get to go there. One thing's for sure, if this is true, I could see why they'd want to hide it. The resources on these planes are obviously limited if this is all designed. If there really is a dome above us, and we're stuck here, and we can prove it, then the first thing we'll want to do is break out, figure it out. Why is it here? Why are we here? Who built this? Next, the religions will probably all claim they were right. Next, chaos, panic. The elite have done a great job at the divide and conquer campaigns over the last generations. Now it's down to gender wars, identity wars, regional wars, resource wars, and the most important, the war on your mind, body, soul, spirit, perceptions, indoctrination of who you think you should become and what you should spend your life doing. We're not unified, and that's the last thing they want. This scares some people. This makes others laugh. They'll continue believing we're spinning on a ball, defying all kinds of logistics. But okay. The cool thing though is we're having a mass awakening. All the holy books pretty much tell this same story, just giving all the variables and planets and suns and moons their own names and actors and stories to go by. Being in the arts for the last 25 years, well, my whole life really, but professionally for 25 years, I understand one thing's for sure about music, art, feelings, and this world itself, and that's frequencies and oscillations. And we all come from a sine wave, operate in oscillations and cycles, and so does this planet. It breathes, it goes through cycles, it goes through patterns. The suns and moons go through multiple oscillations at the same time. This model also explains lunar and solar eclipses rather easily. Rainbows, color theory, etc. also rather easily. The point of this, if any, don't let it scare you, even if all of it is true. If anything, this should help you at least gain some knowledge, become a little more illuminated, and understand your life, your body, your mind, your soul is also a big oscillation machine, and you should be oscillating every single day at your full potential. So that if this next life, previous life, we are our own ancestors thing is true, you can ascend in your next lifetime to becoming your own star of stars. It's true, all of us used to be one on the same vibration. The best way to explain it? We'd have to go either back in time or back to the future. To the starting point of time, 0, where all the axes meet. This is actually the death and the rebirth of consciousness. With the huge controversy on whether we do live on this spinning ball or a flat plane, I'm here to present an alternate theory, kind of mixing both. Ready? At first, out of the void, the nothingness, the timeless, spaceless, and matterless abyss, chaos finally met order. It is intelligent. It is beautiful. It is everything and nothing. It is all at once. It is syncretized. I call it infinite consciousness. One day it decided to finally create a womb for itself, where it can build a home to create an experience within itself. So the Holy Trinity was designed, executed, and it's perfect. This is essentially the birth of consciousness. In the center is absolute consciousness, where everything overlaps: birth, life, death, creation, sustenance, and destruction, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Everything is divided into threes, hence the 33.3333, etc. number being so popular and important in our society. It's also worth noting, this is where I believe the first sine wave was ever created. That is the breath, the in, the out, the up, the down, the left, right, etc. This is life, consciousness, cycles, repetition, patterns. With its intelligence, the Holy Trinity creates its home, its womb, the first of 5 rings. This is the seed of life, where everything starts. While slowly transitioning from chaos to order, the Trinity divided itself into 3 portions. Just like on a magnet, you have red and blue, positive and negative. Here we have birth, which is up top, Polaris, the highest star. In the middle we have life, which is green. And on the bottom we have death, which is red, negative polarity. This is also why we have RGB in our color codes. I'll actually explain that one in a bit more detail a little later, because it is important. Next, the Trinity started to stir its creation, essentially creating our cosmic vortex, the universal highway, and our atmosphere generator, all basically connecting us to the Masterverse, so they say. Up top, this also creates the mainframe that powers it all. This gives us our energy, our weather, our flow of airs, waters, currents, all spinning clockwise, oscillating, and giving us our gases, gravities, densities, buoyancies, turbulence, etc. The upper part of the orb is known as the land of the gods. This is where the star of stars, the director of everything, sits. Under him, Omega, Andromeda, and the Milky Way, all giving birth to the first breath by Neptune and Uranus, giving it its first oscillation. This is what mixes everything. This is what creates our actual clockwise spin. We know it as the vortex, the cosmic vortex, or the black hole. Next, we have our actual Earth, built in 3 parts as well, both above and below. Like they say, as above, so below. So we have 3-part pyramid here, and each level of these pyramids are our lands. So we have the crust, the mantle, inner core, and outer core. This is also what gives us our 4 elements of life: air, earth, water, fire. Also, now that you have this viewpoint, you can see that there is such thing as space. However, it's not to go to other planets up there, it's to go to outer lands beyond our perimeter. Why can't we go to the perimeters? This is why right here. These are called toroidal fields.
You guys know them as the Van Allen belts. There are 5 toroidal fields that separate the lands and give each its own ecosystem, its own sun and moon, and give each its own atmosphere and rotate and oscillate to give the Earth its breathing system. Okay, this allows the whole orb to breathe in and out, and these toroidal fields protect each perimeter, or we can call them districts. So we are on the center one, and you'll see 4 here with a tiny one in the center of our Earth, which is the North Pole. Okay, there is an actual polar field there. There is actual energy there. Compasses get pulled there. So let's take a closer look. These electromagnetic fields all oscillate at different speeds. So if we go by this theory, then the sun is traveling around us at around 1,000 miles an hour. And the other stars are also traveling in their respective speeds in their own perimeters. The second perimeter with Mars is 67,000 miles an hour, and the outer perimeter is close to 500,000 miles an hour. So all of these have their own oscillations, both the actual rings and the actual planets or sun and moons within them. Each of these lands, each of these rings has 4 atmospheres to go along with it. And that is the troposphere on the bottom part, the stratosphere just above us, the mesosphere, and then the thermosphere. And again, going back to the vortex that spins from above and below is what gives all of these their oscillations. We're going to talk more about oscillations a little later because they are very, very important. Okay, so now let's break down the planets. Each land has its own sun and moon. Mercury, which is the very center of centers of everything in the North Pole, is both a sun and moon. Okay, it is both, therefore we're not counting it here. We're saying there's 3 suns and 3 moons, man and woman, left and right, positive, negative. Each land has its own ecosystem. This is where the theory of extraterrestrials or extra terrain, extra land, come from. The outer ring may also be where dinosaurs, creatures, aliens, again, a different ecosystem, different light sources, colors, air, breath, everything is different. So when they say they're trying to explore outer space, it doesn't really mean up, because those are luminaries, those are stars, those cannot be landed on. They mean outer lands beyond the perimeters known as the South Pole or the Antarctic. You guys have taken in a lot of data. Congrats for sticking around this long. Let's quickly recap. We have the Holy Trinity creating the womb. Then the Holy Trinity separates into positive, neutrality, and negative. Then a vortex is created. Then a rock is created for our lands. Then our toroidal fields are created to create cycles and to create breath and to create oscillations. Then suns and moons are created, and they also have their own oscillations, and they are all respective to their own lands. So let's break down oscillations some more. Here we simply see a sun and a moon going around in a circle. And here we see 3 going around in circles. Now some are oscillating faster than others, but they're all generally going in a circle. And they are now going to oscillate in a lot of different ways as well. Here you see the original oscillation to the different types of patterns you can create while doing your big oscillation. So this is a double oscillation. And here you can see that all the planets are also moving up and down over their oscillations as well. So we have a big oscillation, and then a pattern within that as a secondary oscillation. Then we're moving up and down as a third oscillation. and they're changing patterns over time and could be adding and removing other oscillations. Who really knows? You can also create different types of oscillations based on the different wave type. We are known as a sine wave. Everything is fluid. There are also sawtooth, triangle, and square wave types. This is also used a lot in music production. We'll go into that a little bit more later too. But you can see that these patterns create beautiful shapes, and they also depict our time, our seasons, our summers, winters, when the planet's breathing, opening and closing. That gives us all of our different oscillations. These oscillations also explain the various lunar and solar eclipses. Think about it. In certain oscillations, the sun will be going in front of the moon. In other oscillations, the sun will be going behind the moon, or vice versa. And that probably happens with all the planets. That's why sometimes you'll see people ask, why do I see 2 suns or 3 moons or whatever, the various variations and phenomena that we see. Generationally, these patterns have been tracked to some degree. If you actually pause the video as these are going around in their circles, you'll start to create amazing shapes. And if you connect all the planets and the dots, so to speak, you'll see where the yin-yang symbol comes from, the positive negatives come from, color theory comes from, frequencies come from, everything basically comes from these oscillations. It is a beautiful system of design. They say the fallen angels or the illuminated ones have had this knowledge, which I'm presenting to you today as a simple theory, but there's probably some truths to some of this, have had it for a long time, and it has been perverted and distorted over time. Now, just as a side note, wouldn't it be a great story to tell the populace that you cannot get off this plane, this planet, because there is just infinite time and space outside of this plane? We only have access to the inner part. It is a special part of all this because it is the center, and we have access to the North Pole, which is where ascension happens. And I do think we are in a special time. It's not just, let's prove the Earth is flat. What's beyond that? So what if it is? Well, what might be outside those perimeters? Maybe there are things we need to protect ourselves from. And or maybe it is just a bunch of land we cannot get to, but every country, every government would love to chop it up, carve it up, because there's so many precious resources out there potentially. Okay, so let's look at oscillations and frequencies in music now. I've been doing music production for a very long time, on top of doing art, digital media, video. I've gone through everything to do with art at a fundamental level in various gifted schools and whatnot. My creative side is my passion, my labor of love, and I believe I've been given these beautiful talents and skills to share beautiful information like this and potentially help you guys ascend, or at least become illuminated and understand and have knowledge in a beautiful, engaging presentation. Here we have frequencies with music and layering music and giving you visuals for those frequencies. You can see that certain notes sit in the lower frequencies and certain notes sit in the higher frequencies. But here you can see layers of audio overlapping each other and creating beautiful waves as well. And when you layer things properly, you create harmonics, natural harmonics. And that's when the oscillations become beautiful visuals as well. So everything is everything. And this is another example of that. But when it comes to music, and when it comes to artists hitting certain notes and singing certain melodies, or priests chanting, or other melodic structures, or chording, or layering of your voice or an instrument, again, you get beautiful harmonics. So when we play something in the higher octaves, it sounds angelic. When we play something in the lower octaves, it sounds demon-like. If we take this one step further and add a visual and sound effects, you can definitely see how you can make someone uncomfortable or anxious by design. Now, while watching this, think of your daily routine and how you oscillate and what you eat and what type of frequencies you take in, people you talk to, entertainment you take in, etc. You'll be surprised at how much negative energy you probably take in on a daily basis and don't even know it.
Moon. Over. We cannot believe you are on the fucking moon. Over.
You know when a musical artist is singing and they're off key, you can just tell, you can sense it. You know the harmonics are off. Or when someone's showing you a spoofy video, you can tell it's fake. Or when a journalist is spoofing a story, you can tell they're faking it. This is because the harmonics are off and your bullshit radar is basically detecting it. But when you do it through things like entertainment and movies and music and comedy, where there's a bit of truth to every joke, you play a very fine line of the types of perceptions you're presented with your whole life. So of course, me showing you this stuff's probably making you reject it instinctively, because your whole life you've been told we're living on a ball that's spinning in outer space in infinity. And in part, some of that might be true. Singularity could be the Big Bang. Our whole universe might well be flying through infinite void. But our actual land that we live on, well, I'll let you be the judge. Or you've ended up on this video because you've already discovered your own truth. So what I'm trying to say, when you do listen to frequencies, watch movies, do your day-to-day, take in 5,000 logos, 400 cents, 300 people's eye contact, and energies overlapping yours, think about what your purpose in this life is. Because my goal is to help you guys ascend to a higher state of consciousness, become illuminated, and you too are nothing but a big oscillation machine. When you breathe in and out, that's oscillating. When you walk, your whole body is oscillating. When you sleep, you're going through a cycle. Everything about us is oscillating, and you should be oscillating to your full potential in this beautiful universe. In between the fourth and fifth toroidal fields is where the firmament sits. This is where all the stars are attached and fixated as they do their oscillation as well. This firmament is what prevents us from going up. In fact, there's footage online of rockets being sent up by independent teams, and you can clearly see it hit something up there before coming back down. Now, if you look up Operation Fishbowl and Operation High Jump, you'll come across some interesting information regarding the efforts that the governments have put in to try to get through the firmament. Anyway, that is how the star system works. Now, the top two planets, Neptune and Uranus, are, I believe, also just above the firmament. They are what give the initial spin to the vortex. These two are also known as exoplanets, and that is because they are on the exterior of the toroidal fields and outside of the three suns and moons system. And again, this is what gives all the differentiation to all the oscillations of everything else under it. So we've covered a lot of the top half because that is our home, and we don't really know what's on the bottom. But based on the same research sources, the bottom is very much like the top, except with water. There are also 3 levels below us that mimic what we have above, and then there's also a firmament on the very bottom, just above Pluto. Again, instead of air, it's water, and it's known as the Great Deep. The 5 toroidal fields operate down here to cycle the water in its respective cycles as well. And frankly, who knows what kind of life forms may be down there, or what may be down there. But this is known in our literature as hell. Interesting, huh? So, how does religion tie into all this? Let me try to explain, and this is just my opinion. I believe all the holy books were simply metaphorical stories to explain exactly what I just showed you. I don't believe they were actual people. I believe they were depicting everything you see here, and all the variables were given their own characters. I'm going to stick to the Bible here, just to give you guys a couple random examples, and then please refer to any of it for yourselves to see if you can pinpoint the metaphor. When they say Jesus died on the cross, that is a metaphor for Jesus is Christ. Christ represents consciousness. Consciousness died on the cross. The cross is the crux, again, the cross section, the middle point of middle points. And if we look at the cross in a 3D format, you'll notice it's not a plus symbol. The center horizontal piece is moved up because on the universe, we are not in the center of centers, we are up a little bit on that third plane, right? So when consciousness died at the cross section of our universe, that is the North Pole. And when they say follow the North Star, that is Polaris. And the birth of Jesus is also under the North Star. The very center of the first toroidal field inside is known as the Garden of Eden. That is a holy place. That is a spiritual place. So when Christ was crucified, consciousness ascended into the heavens through the moons, because you come in through the suns and you leave through the moons, ascended into heaven, and 3 days later was reborn. Again, a metaphor for reincarnation, or your next cycle, your next life. This is where past lives, future lives, we are our own ancestors, etc., comes from as well. Also, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit derives from this too. Pretty much every single thing you see in the holy books, it's a story and a metaphor to explain one of these variables in this beautiful universe. Hey, I'm just putting forth theories. I'm not trying to push any religion onto anybody, nor am I religious. But I do believe that people in ancient times simply had this knowledge and again told it to us in story format, or in book format, or in holy book format. I thought a lot about how to close this out, because I've given you a lot of intel, and some of you are probably laughing, while others have been here before, and others are even farther along in the research than I am. Some of you are probably asking, where did you get all this info? Are you just making this shit up, or is this actually sourced material, or... Well, it's a mix of ancient literature, cosmology, science, and putting various random puzzle pieces together for a long time. Again, it's called the Norb theory because it's just that. I don't believe in this definitively either. I just think it's a lot more plausible than what we're currently told. And as I close this out, I'm going to show you guys some screen caps of others that have taken this theory before me in their own ways and presented it. I'm also going to leave links in the description to the stuff that influenced me, at least some of it, that breaks some of this down and gives it even more context. So, does it really matter if the Earth is flat or not? Not really. At least not for those that already don't believe a lot of what we're told and taught. And there's a lot of us, and more, awakening every day. But I guess some of the fears would be that the religions would quickly claim they had the right story. There is a creator, something designed this thing, be it a simulation of a simulation, or a great designer, a god, a greater being. And not to mention, they'd have to finally fess up that they've been lying this whole time and give us full disclosure, which may well happen. It's actually an exciting time as more people wake up. There's a lot to explore, there's a lot to learn, and it's amazing to finally realize we don't know that much about ourselves or where we live, at least not most of us. I always thought there must be some order. It's not just all chaos and random. And this was my final missing link to that thinking. There very well may be other life forms out there, aliens or whatever, but they're depicted very negatively, low frequencies, ugly creatures. They may be way ahead of us and looking at us as the aliens or the pests, the destructive species that can't even get into their own harmony. Keep them away from us. Could be what they're saying. Never really know. So what's after this? Well, they say if you lived out your karma properly, you ascend. If not, you're doing this again. Is there going to be a part 2? Who knows? Hopefully, all of us will be actually living it instead of watching it on your screens. They have nations divided. They have religions divided. They have demographics divided. They have age groups divided. And now they're going after the biggest, the gender war. Whether we're going to space or we're going to the outer limits, I still believe the purpose of life is to be good versus evil. I still believe I've made it to where I've made it to in life because I've challenged everything and I've not been definitive with my thinking, especially when it comes to belief systems, politics, the way I oscillate in this lifetime, and how I spend my time and resources and efforts to try to achieve my goals. As we go through this transitioning, this big mass awakening, I'm sure some of you can already feel it and sense it. More and more of you guys are going to come to your own truths faster and faster than ever before. So if anything, I'd love for you guys to at least keep an open mind to this and anything that is presented in front of you as fact and definitive. If you can't touch it yourself, explore it yourself, see it yourself, not just on a television screen, not just through news, not just through an organization, be it government or not, then don't just blindly believe it just because you've been told something your whole life. Doesn't make it true. But do your own research. And the 5 most important words that I don't think they want me telling you, they're simple. All you need is love. So the sun is Sunday, moon is Monday, Mars is Tuesday, Mercury, the center, is Wednesday, Jupiter is Thursday, Venus is Friday, Saturn is Saturday. We have a pretty interesting shape here. I decided to keep going and connecting the rest of the planets as they are all aligned. I started noticing really cool patterns of perspective and all kinds of shapes, stars, triangles, rectangles, and pretty evenly split pieces, although the image itself is on a bit of a perspective angled downwards and a little to the right. So this won't come up perfectly, and I'm simply in Photoshop using the shift command with the pencil tool to connect one point to the next, so it's all kind of rough. It's not perfect. However, you still get the idea. I decided to keep going and connect the upper parts as well, starting with Polaris, singularity, and I got even more perspective. Now I'm starting to see pyramids, 3 dimensions. Then I started to think about some of our structures and some of our stories, and the story of Babel, where they built the tower to try to get up there. And Polaris decided, nope, we're gonna flood everything, you guys gotta start over. You can't cheat the system to try to get up and ascend faster. And I started to look at some of the other pyramids and noticed the 3 big ones. It's important because the tallest is always Polaris, the second tallest is always a sun, and the third is always a moon. So the suns are always a little higher than the moons. Anyway, just thought this was kind of interesting as I start overlaying some of the images. Okay, so I start to go even higher now, and connect the midpoint, the firmament, well, the midpoint up there. And I get even more perspective, perhaps even more dimensions. And again, as they are spinning and oscillating multiple directions at the same time and changing that directional pattern, we go through different cycles of time. We go through different cycles of energy. We go through different cycles of consciousness. Then I started to get a little sinister and look for logos that might fit, and came upon this. Again, just theorizing, just having some fun and being creative, seeing what I can come up with. And as I get each new puzzle piece and go, aha, something interesting just happened, let's add this to it, let's add that to it. This is just me, again, theorizing, being creative on perhaps why the chevron vector symbol is so important, because it's in everyday use all around us in all our energies and all our logos. This is definitely one of my biggest masterpieces as far as compiling a bunch of info and presenting it with wicked graphics, my own music, Foley, 3D from scratch, pretty much everything you see here. And I'm really proud of this thing. So please feel free to share it, critique it, drop your comments below. If there's any corrections to be made, feel free to drop those too. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.
Even if it doesn't make sense, don't you ever question NASA, your authority, your government. They would never lie, nope, never spy, nope, never spray the sky, never take a bribe, right? Whoa. Number two, anytime you see flat earth proof, just regurgitate the bullshit that you learned back in school. Is the curriculum true? It's approved by the experts. Be a good boy, obey everything they tell you. Number three, this one's got to do with the sea. Water never curves, but they call it gravity. Hold up, bro. You don't believe in gravity? I call it density and buoyancy. Number four, I know you heard this one before. Look at the ships disappear on the horizon as they dip, but a zoom lens brings it back in. There it is. Nope, that's just refraction, a mirage every day. Number five, look up. Don't you see the satellite? Don't you see the blinking lights? How the f can you deny? Cause I look up every night and I see the same sky. Nothing ever parallaxes, nothing ever flies by. So 6, stuck in the matrix, I hate the sticks. Spaceships photoshopped reality from data strips. Yet we believe 6 moon missions made it. Yet all we see is CGI and some great tricks. 7, this rule is completely underrated. Keep your social life and flat earth completely separated. Cause the skeptics won't get this, but get this. Our freedom of artistic expression and free speech is under threat. Number 8, I ate it sideways, that's infinity. I was made from the Trinity, not no apes, just infinity. My algorithm is set to 432 hertz. Perfect fractal patterns, those are nature's words. Number 9, the math and the numbers say it all. Railroads and canals were built on no ball. And from ancient civilizations to today's shoot, the engineers don't put the curvature in their equations. I'm saying number 10, get ready to pretend, regurgitate again, cause you can't fail, my friend. If you get too many F's, you get sent to the dot. You got ADD, popping a cocktail full of cans. Say the sun is not at 3 million miles away. That's a bunch of bullish, hot spots prove it. Say the sun is not at 3 million miles away. Get your mind right or they start to abuse it. They call it a sea level, not a sea curve. And I don't see curve, I'm a truth seeker. Vomit on reality distorted by these teachers and doctrinated research. Let's go and smoke some weed. I used to have respect for road joking and team, for waking people the up to this monster machine, which we all bow down to in some chronic degree. But if you educate yourself a bit, you're free your mind and your seat. You've already learned to love the servitude we put you in. Condition to focus on your ego and sick indoctrination. The face is on the money to remind us of the power. Prophecies were simply repeating the plans of these powers.
This body of work is a hypothesis and theory based on syncretic research. This research is meant to unite people and open up discussions about our reality. All we ask is that you be kind to each other once you watch this and start discussing and dissecting it. We also ask and strongly encourage you and everybody to re-upload and mirror this on any and every platform. Redub it in your language, do reaction videos, make screenshots, remixes, refixes, and get this out there. One last disclaimer, some of the maps on these models and elements are not to spec, and I did them to be as visual as possible, so don't mind some of the maps being off, distorted, or totally wrong. They are meant for representation purposes only. So, grab your snacks and drinks, and get ready to have your mind blown. Let's go. Before we get into the details, it's extremely important that you have a full understanding of the construct of our geocentric electromagnetic universe. If you're not familiar with this geocentric model, we're going to leave links in the description for you to catch up on the basics. In short, we're not on a ball. Our Earth currently consists of 4 concentric rings of physical land, beginning and spiraling out from the 0-point axis at the center of the plane, just like a drop of water that falls into a larger body of water, therefore creating a ripple effect, beginning from its point of impact, concentrically expanding outwards. The very middle center of this vast earthly concentric plane is what's known as the 0-point axis. This is what we refer to as the magnetic North Pole. This central pole is not just a symbolical metaphor, but an actual physical marker said to be a magical, or should I say, magnetic pillar, sometimes referred to as a holy mountain or the tree of life. The first big red pill you're going to have to swallow is that beyond all these dimensional fields of energy from where we are now, in our northern and southern extremities, are other extraterrestrial lands inhabited by other extraterrestrial civilizations. This is what we might call extraterrestrial outer and inner space, extraterrestrial outer and inner Earth. I know, it sounds crazy, just bear with me. Each of these 4-dimensional rings of Earth have their own lunar, solar systems and seasons, and their own sun and moons, which would be our current 7 wandering stars. Saturn and Jupiter being the solar sun and lunar moon of the outermost ring, domain, or realm of Earth. Mars and Venus being the solar sun and lunar moon of the next concentric domain of Earth inside that. This Mars and Venus domain would be the main realm beyond our southern Antarctic boundary and the Aurora Australis electromagnetic field. Then, of course, we have our own solar sun, Apollo, and lunar moon, Artemis, in this domain. And last but not least, Mercury within the inner central realm beyond our northern Arctic boundary and Aurora Borealis electromagnetic field. This inner star, Mercury, is androgynous, both a solar sun and lunar moon in one. It's sometimes referred to as the inner Earth Sun or Black Sun or Planet Nibiru or Planet X. Now, the full expanse of our entire earthly plane with all the different realms would be what the ancient Greeks referred to as Mother Gaia, the Kemetic Egyptians called the Benben or Mother Geb, and the Indo-Vedics referred to as the Bhumandala. In this presentation, we're going to explain and show how this spiral expansion of space, time, and matter began and continues to be. Let's go. This calendar is a modern interpretation and mix of the Aztec Mayan calendar, Egyptian Dendra stone, the various Chinese and Indian Dharma wheels, as well as other ancient cosmological and universal clocks and calendars. Many ancient cultures, civilizations, mystics, and researchers have created and depicted various cosmic clocks and calendars over the ages. Some simple, others complex, but one thing is for sure. They all knew that all time operates in a cyclical pattern. They knew that everything in existence has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Birth, experience, growth, and death. Sunrise, midday, sunset, midnight. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. Iron, bronze, silver, gold. You get it. So our cosmic calendar of time is a macrocosmic and syncretic mirror reflection of those observable microcosmic clocks, calendars, cycles, and seasons of time. And as always, our research is embedded on the foundation of natural and observable everyday reality. Hopefully by the end of this presentation, you will have a better understanding of how different ages, races, civilizations, and realms have come about over time within our electromagnetic cosmic egg universe. So in order to understand our calendar better, we need to break down something known as an epoch. Our epoch here is going to be 24,000 years for one full cycle. What is the definition of an epoch? A division of time that is itself a subdivision of a larger period of time. Think of seconds to minutes to hours to days to months to years. Good examples of epochs. An epoch is also subdivided into ages corresponding to a series of chronological changes or events. An epoch can sometimes be referred to as an era, age, period, time, eon, span, stage, or point in history. Universal epochs are also sometimes referred to as a platonic year or a cosmic day. Just like a clock striking 12 and starting another cycle or day. So our epochs are 24,000 years, reflective of our natural 24-hour day and clock. 24 hours in a solar day, 24,000 years in a cosmic day. The first thing we're going to do is lay a typical 12-hour dial. We're going to follow this by also laying 12 months of the year, and follow that ring by a ring of the 12 zodiac signs matching up to each month. The next ring is going to represent our 4 seasons: autumn, winter, spring, and summer. The ring inside this one is going to represent our 24-hour clock, with 6 p.m. being represented at 12. The next ring is our meridian. We have midnight, quarter past, half past, and quarter to. And inside this ring are going to be our 4 concentric lands, eras, ages, civilizations, and solar systems. As stated, we've already had 4 epoch cycles, and we are currently a quarter past the 5th. Now, just as there are 4 earthly physical realms, there are also 4 physical humanoid root races associated with the creation of each realm. These 4 root races are the Hyperboreans, Lemurians, Atlanteans, and Aryans. But there's also a 5th race of beings that lives in the center, Mount Meru, of our Earth. This is the Master Root race, the Polarians. Unlike the other 4, the Polarians are semi-ethereal, meaning not completely physical beings. They do not have a definitive skin pigment, size, color, or race. Having said that, they are often depicted as being somewhat indigo-bluish, translucent beings. The very middle or central point of Earth is where the earth and the heavens meet, and this is where the gods live. We propose that the Polarians are able to transverse between the 2 worlds, the heavens or spiritual realms above and earth/physical planes below. Anyway, these Polarians began the human race at pole position. They were the very first forms of earthly beings to manifest on this plane. All the other 4 root races were seeded by the Polarians, hence the term Master Race. We could also call the Polarians the Guardians of the Earth. So this first Polarian epoch, or first 24,000 years, centered around the cosmic tree of life, was regulated by the grand heavenly first and largest solar system, Neptune and Uranus, the highest and first 2 wandering stars, or sun and moon, of our universe, albeit semi-ethereal in nature. And, at the end of their epoch, the Polarians completed their first cycle or circle of cosmic time, 24,000 years of experience. This was the end of their epoch. At this point, the Polarians created their very first physical manifestation, and so the Hyperboreans realm and root race are created. A new physical paradigm emerges, unfolding out of the North Polar Center Axis, aka the very first ripple. We could also say the tree of life gave birth to its first physical fruit or seed. This process is what we might call a pole shift, the very first pole shift of our Earth. This new Hyperborean realm comes complete with its own solar system to regulate its physical space, time, and matter. The very first sun and moon are also created, Jupiter and Saturn. However, at this stage, they are androgynous. They are one. They are not separated. They only separate at the end of their epoch. This is the first domain to experience fully physical earthly space, time, and matter, all regulated by the very first earthly solar system. This Hyperborean realm that unfolded out of the center pillar was the very first Garden of Eden, surrounding the Tree of Life, or Mount Meru, at the center. Keep this in mind for the rest of the creation process. Every time a new ripple comes out, it is the new Garden of Eden. Over the next 24,000 years, during their epoch, the Hyperborean realm was gradually pushed outward away from the center as a new realm and physical root race was created. The second ripple, the Lemurian realm and root race, is seeded. A second pole shift, and again a new paradigm emerges, pushing the old Hyperborean realm outwards and away from the central pillar or tree of life. This is also where Saturn, aka Kronos, and Jupiter, aka Rhea, separate and start their orbit. This second realm, the Lemurians, also get their own sun and moon, which is at that point in time also androgynous, a sun and moon in one, which will in 24,000 years be known as Mars and Venus. During this epoch, the Lemurians are the Garden of Eden, and Mars and Venus, the androgynous sun and moon, regulates its cycles, seasons, and ages of this new realm and domain. Don't forget, the Lemurians were also seeded from the Polarians, the master root race, and not the Hyperboreans going inward. All races were created and seeded from the Polarians. So the Lemurian realm is the second Garden of Eden, and again, after a cyclical time, when their epoch ends, they too were pushed outward to make way for the third root race. The Atlantean realm and root race is seeded. This is pole shift number 3. Mars and Venus now separate into two and start their orbit. This new Atlantean realm, like the previous two, was seeded with its own androgynous sun and moon that will eventually turn into Apollo, our sun, and Artemis, our moon, to regulate and control the cycles, seasons, and ages of that realm. This Atlantean root race and realm is the one we currently inhabit. All human races in this realm of Earth are predominantly Atlanteans. You are an Atlantean. During this Atlantean epoch, we in this realm were the Garden of Eden at the center. And once again, over cyclical time, 24,000 years, history repeats itself. Atlantis fell, or rather sank, when the Great Deluge or Flood happened, and reset us from the center to where we currently are, also finally setting Apollo and Artemis into their orbit. And so the Aryan root race was seeded out from the fourth and most recent pole shift. This is the current Garden of Eden. And to give us a point on our timeline, this Aryan root race and realm was seeded about 6,000 years ago to join the human race. And as our fractal pattern continues, just like the realms before it, the Aryan realm was birthed with its own solar system, Mercury, its androgynous sun and moon, to regulate and control the cycles, seasons, and ages of that new domain. And so, here we are, 6,000 years into the Aryan or fifth epoch. In summary, we have 5 epochs so far. The Master Race, the Polarians, 24,000 years later, the Hyperborean realm was created. 24,000 years after that, the Lemurian realm was created, then the Atlantean, then the Aryan. And according to many ancient scriptures, mythologies, and mystics, there are 2 more epochs to come, meaning 7 epochs, 7 earthly realms, and 7 root races. Moving on. You'll also notice in this realm of Earth we are currently in, there are 4 main races. All the other races in between are mixed races, or rather mixes of these 4 sub and root races. The black races have their DNA lineage from the very first Earth root race, the Hyperboreans. All native black cultures of this realm predominantly have their cultural beliefs and practices handed down by the Hyperborean root race, sometimes referred to as the Anunnaki. The Oriental Asian races have their DNA lineage from the second root race, the Lemurians, and likewise, the Oriental cultures stem their beliefs and practices from the Lemurian root race, commonly and mistakenly referred to as the Reptilians. The Indo-Asian races have their DNA and lineage from the third root race, the Atlanteans. The Indo-Asians naturally stem their beliefs and practices from the Atlantean root race of their current realm. The Indo-Asians naturally stem their beliefs and practices from the Atlantean root race of this current realm. This means the Indo-Asians or Vedic Indian races are the original root race lineage of this Atlantean realm. And the white races have their DNA lineage from the most recent fourth root race, the Aryans. And of course, most of the white cultural influences we see today are seeded from the Aryan root race currently at the center, Garden of Eden. The Aryans are what most religious texts and mythologies refer to as the current gods, or sometimes fallen angels. The Aryans are also sometimes confused with the Palladians, aka Polarians, who are semi-ethereal beings that live at the very center, Mount Meru, and not in the current Aryan Eden realm. Now, although we in this realm all appear to be different races within our different sub and mixed race lineage and traits, we are actually one race. This is due to the mixing of genetic codes over time. We are all predominantly Atlantean humans, only with slight genetic variances, most notably skin pigmentation, hair structure, eye color, and cultural and religious programs. In fact, most of the racial and religious divisions and wars fought today have their roots seeded from past wars between the four root races. We Atlanteans in this realm inherited our predisposed prejudices of one another from outside influences. Now, we hypothesize that all the other Earth realms would have many different multicultural sub and mixed races in their own domains, just like we have in this realm. Meaning, there are probably thousands of different sub and mixed races and cultures within the different domains across the entire plane of our Earth. But, fundamentally, every root, sub, and mixed race on Earth is of Talarian origin. Every physical conscious being in existence on Earth is of Talarian origin, with all the various solar systems and extraterrestrial civilizations divided and separated from one another by the various toroidal electromagnetic fields, aka the Van Allen belts. These electromagnetic belts do periodically open and close or weaken and strengthen dependent on the various universal and cosmic cycles, seasons, and ages. This periodically happens to allow the sharing or rebalancing of conscious energy, technology, and knowledge between all the different earthly dimensional realms. And we are fast approaching the next opening of these electromagnetic barriers. This opening event will be a revelation that will impact us all in this realm, collectively and individually. We can already see the birthing pains of this great cosmic event with the current so-called conscious awakening and unusual weather patterns. Moving on, we must remember that these physical constructs we call bodies are just that. They are bodies, vehicles, avatars that carry the real, living, Talarian conscious energy or spirit being within it. This conscious energy within us that is here experiencing, learning, growing, and sharing is what some might call a spirit or a soul. This is the real you, your soul, your conscious energy. And we all know energy has no color or race or nationality or prejudices, just polarity, positive energy, good vibes or people or souls, and negative energy, bad vibes, people or souls. And as such, the human race is just part of the temporary physical journey, individually and collectively, what many in modern times term as the matrix, or what the ancients called the Maya, the illusion. Next, let's explore exactly how cosmic epochs and ages work, using the current Aryan epoch calendar as our reference. You'll notice the outside rings note our months of the year as well as our 12 zodiac signs. The 12 solar months are actually a microcosmic reflection of the 12 zodiac constellations. These 12 zodiac constellations are our heavenly cosmic clock rotating above us. As they rotate, each constellation has its own energies that subconsciously influence and help guide us consciously here on the earthly plane, both individually and collectively. These 12 months are further divided into our 4 seasonal sections: autumn, winter, spring, and summer, which in cosmic terms are known as the 4 seasons of conscious evolution. These conscious seasons are what the Greeks called the 4 ages of man and Vedic scriptures called the Yuga ages. These 4 Yuga ages are the Golden Age, Satya Yuga, Silver Age, T.A.R.T.A.R.I.A, Bronze Age, Dwapara-Yuga, and Iron Age, Kali-Yuga. A full epoch, 24,000 years, is broken up into 8 Yuga ages. Therefore, each Yuga age is 3,000 years. You'll also notice there are more golden or yellow ages than any other. This is because the golden ages mirror the sun's presence during the course of our 12 calendar month solar season. So as you can see, lots of sunshine in the summer, a little less in autumn and spring, and little to none in winter. Of course, sunshine in this case is translated into conscious intelligence. And obviously, the Yuga ages of our universal summer are much higher states of consciousness than the Yuga ages of the spring, autumn, and certainly winter ages. We also hypothesize that when golden ages overlap within different realms, there are no torus fields or separation between those particular realms. This means that when the time comes and the golden ages overlap, all lands that overlap can be crossed in and out of. In other words, those particular domains are open and free to interact without restriction. This is because they are oscillating at the same golden ratio of frequency or resonance. So, let's now map the universal, cosmic, and solar timelines of all the individual realms or domains. Mainstream science tells us that the Iron Age began about 6,000 years ago, which mirrors the reset point here, 12 o'clock. They also tell us that the Middle Ages were about 3,000 years ago from today, which again mirrors the timeline here. And this timeline is also the common narrative among most holy books. So, our calendar has our realm or domain beginning this epoch 6,000 years ago with the age of Taurus, the bull. Interestingly, the Old Testament of the Bible begins in an age where they worship the bull. This is symbolical of the first 2,000 years of Taurus astrological energy. After some time, bull worship ended with the story of God telling Abraham to stop bull worship and instead sacrifice a ram. This is symbolical of the change from the Taurus bull age into the Aries ram age. And again, 2,000 years later, Jesus, the fisher of men, comes into play. The Jesus fish symbolism is telling us of the shift from the Aries into the two fish Pisces age. And once again, as we reach the end of the Jesus fish Piscean age, we now see the effects of the new water Aquarian age. Aquarius, of course, is symbolized by the mixing of waters. It is the age of mixing, discovery, disclosure, and technology. If we were to set this calendar to today's date, we would be sitting at just before quarter past reset. 6,000 years into the fifth epoch, bang in the middle of the cosmic winter or iron age of universal collective consciousness. In fact, to be a little more exact, we've got us at 2 minutes to midnight. Midnight being 2020, minutes being years. Now, this is interesting because mainstream science has something called a doomsday clock. And on the doomsday clock, they are saying the Earth is 2 minutes to midnight or doomsday. It was actually moved from 3 minutes to 2 minutes on the 18th of January of 2018. And I'm sure most of you know that doomsday or apocalypse simply means a marked period or shift or change from one thing into another. The end of the old and the beginning of the new. And we are living in extremely exciting times for those who are paying attention to what is going on. Knowledge, truth, new information and discoveries are not to be feared. They are to be embraced. This particular cosmic shift we are about to have is an important one because it's a cardinal shift. This means all 4 current earthly domains will simultaneously be experiencing their own doomsday or apocalypse or shift of season. So let's go through each realm's cosmic shift. The Central Aryan realm will be having a fantastic apocalypse, shifting up from their bronze into their silver age of consciousness. We in this domain, we're having an okay but confusing apocalypse, shifting up and out of our Iron Age into our Bronze Age of consciousness. Hence the so-called conscious awakening. Knowledge, information, and data are more readily accessible to the masses than at any other time in this era of recorded history. We can clearly see all these changes slowly taking effect, particularly in the more advanced regions of this domain. We get a lot of knowledge from technology. Now, the domain outside of ours, Mars and Venus, are going through a horrible apocalypse. A real doomsday for them as they reset or fall from their golden ages into their iron age of consciousness. And the last realm, the Hyperborean realm, still has one more golden age to go. What's even more interesting though, is the nature of this current and coming cosmic shift. Like we said earlier, the current shift is called a cardinal shift, meaning we are not only having a zodiacal energy shift, but we will also simultaneously be having a physical solar shift to mark all these changes. This simultaneous double transitional shift is known as a cosmic or galactic alignment. So, 2020 means you have perfect vision. Why 20? Why not 10? Or 100%? Well, if you believe, like I strongly do, that we are running on scripts or scriptures, some that we haven't even discovered about ourselves, then you may also hypothesize that in 2020, we will all have perfect vision. What does this mean? It means on the 21st of December 2020, during the winter solstice, there's going to be a great cosmic solar event that will be seen and experienced by every single conscious being in our universe. This is what is commonly being described as the event. Why December 21st, 2020? there's natural scientific significance of this date with relation to our solar system. Most of you will know that on the azimuthal equidistant geocentric Earth model, the Sun coils up and around the electromagnetic dome that encapsulates our Earth for the summers, and coils down towards the end of our solar year to its southernmost position of the Tropic of Capricorn, and on December 21st is at its lowest zenith or y-axis point, the farthest out from our land center and the closest to the Earth vertically. This is what's known as the winter solstice from a northern hemisphere perspective. Once the Sun has reached its lowest point, it follows the same gradient circuit, neither ascending or descending, for 3 days, before it then begins its journey back up to the Tropic of Cancer towards the top and center of our electromagnetic dome of this domain. Meaning, every year, for only these 3 days of our year, from the 21st to the 24th of December, the Sun is neither rising or falling along the electromagnetic torus field dome over and around us. The Sun only resumes its ascension back up to the top 3 days after the 21st, on the 25th of December. Sound familiar? Dead for 3 days, only to rise again? Anyway, if there's to be any kind of cosmic solar event, it would most likely happen during this period when the Sun figuratively dies and is waiting to rise again. Using the same principle, we hypothesize that all the other suns in all the other domains follow a similar solar system. As above, so below. As within, so without. However, obviously their seasons and solstices occur at different times in relation to their own individual ecosystems. You've heard us refer to this body of work as the master oscillation. That's basically what we're saying. All the luminaries have their own paths. Oscillations, secondary, third and fourth oscillations, and eventually they all line up again, and eventually they complete an even bigger cycle, fully lining up. And this only happens once every 6,000 years. So on December 21st, 2020, Mercury at the center, our Sun in this domain, Mars in the next domain, and Saturn in the last domain, and all the moons on the other side, will all stop and align in the same direction on the same path and gradient at the same time for the first time in 6,000 years. This is what we hypothesize is the long-awaited return of the Sun or Christ, the galactic alignment, return of Nibiru or Planet X or consciousness, the great solar event. This cosmic solar alignment will take 3 days to fully align, starting on the 21st of December and ending on the 25th of December. The electromagnetic torus fields in all 4 realms will either disappear or open up or weaken due to this galactic solar alignment. This is the opening of the portals or windows of the heavens spoken of in the Bible. This opening should occur for 7 days, from the 25th to the 31st of December 2020. That also means everyone on Earth will all be able to see all the different wandering solar systems of all the domains clearly in our skies. Everyone will have 20/20 vision. And if you think about it logically, if all the luminaries are at their lowest points, that would make everything above us easy to see, bright, and crystal clear. On a side note, isn't it interesting that we've all been conditioned to be the most busy during the specific time of year every year, and blinded to the Earth's true oscillations, signs, and beauty? Yeah, we celebrate. However, the ways we do it and the reasons we do it are perverted. Even with how many trees we cut down every year to carry out a ritual, which could actually be a geocentric ritual to begin with. The tree of life, the Christmas tree. This period of time is what the ancient cultures were describing when they said there was a time when the sky fell. Many ancient cultures also describe a time where there were many suns and many moons in our sky, and we believe history is about to repeat itself again. This phenomenon will affect and change our atmospheric conditions as well. These events periodically happen over cyclical time in various scales. The last big one occurred in 1859 and was called the Carrington event. Feel free to look it up. The one coming in 2020 is going to be much, much bigger. This solar alignment is meant to realign cosmic energy and consciousness within the various earthly domains and realms of our Earth. This energy blast will begin at the center of the Earth, or the North Pole. It will spiral outwards towards the edge and bounce back towards the center over a very short period of time. The event itself will be triggered by an electromagnetic sonic boom that will look like what we know as a nuclear atomic bomb. Don't worry though, it will not be an atomic bomb. However, it will positively be nuclear. It will give humanity a new, clear vision for the future, individually and collectively. It will give us 20/20 vision. We suspect the current powers that be will attempt to use this natural cosmic event as the ultimate false flag. They may say aliens did it, or it was caused by global warming, or an attack from across the world. This sonic boom of electromagnetic energy may shut down our entire electric grid instantaneously, causing a collapse of our financial, socio-economic, political, and collective cultural existence as we know it. And thus, this event may be used to pave the way for a new order in our world. But this cosmic event is not to be feared. It is a natural process to allow growth within our individual and collective consciousness. The greenish astral rays that this event will create will cover the entire plane of our Earth for a short period of time. Again, it is not to be feared. Governments and authorities will most likely tell us that this green mist caused by this event is a toxin. They will tell us to stay indoors and not go outside into the radiation. Avoid it at all costs. They will say it's harmful radiation. And it will be. For those who have heavy metals in their bodies, i.e. vaccines, iron from meat eating, etc. But for those without harmful chemicals in their bodies, the radiation will radiate and activate dormant DNA, potentially giving you supernatural abilities. Maybe not Superman-like, however a heavy increase in consciousness and your 5 senses will be expected. And for those of us planning to make the pilgrimage up north to the central realm of our Earth, aka the Garden of Eden, this will be our window of opportunity. Many of you here will also know the Mayans predicted the end of their calendar year, or the apocalypse, would happen on the 21st of December, 2012. Take note of this date, December 21st, 2012. The Bible also talks about the 7 trumpets of preparation before the return of Christ, or the Son of God. And after the 7th trumpet, He, the great Son, will return. Well, we hypothesized that the Mayans were spot on with their prediction. Their December 21st, 2012 date marked the beginning of the end. And the 7th trumpet, of course, 7 years later, December 21st, 2019. Which means December 21st, 2020 will be the first year after the 7 trumpets, the 8th year. 8, of course, being the number of completion. And it is also written that everyone on earth will witness the return of Christ consciousness, or the Son of God. Side note, we are just citing scriptures. None of us on the team here are religious or trying to push any dogma on anyone. On the 16th of November 2017, we had a very strange phenomenon occur in this realm. Many of you will remember the red sun and red skies we witnessed and experienced in most of the world. We hypothesize this was a sign of what's to come for those who are paying attention. I know everyone here probably witnessed and experienced this phenomenon, but how many of you actually took note? Of course, mainstream narrative at the time was that it was nothing important, just dust from the desert blocking the sun, and so that little solar event came and went with hardly anyone taking note. Well, for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, please take note. Moving on, we hypothesize that the opening of these electromagnetic torus fields on the 25th of December 2020 will create an atmospheric plasma discharge due to all the different solar systems of our cosmos being in direct contact with one another. This will create a rainbow effect atmosphere all over Earth in all the realms, an atmospheric twilight, if you will. More importantly though, this opening event will also allow for physical travel between all 4 realms or domains for those with the technology or means to do so. We might call this real interdimensional or outer or inner space travel. Here's another big red pill. NASA has openly admitted on numerous occasions that we humans cannot go past low Earth orbit or beyond the Van Allen electromagnetic belts or domes. However, during this period, we believe we will finally be able to do so. And what does that mean for us? Well, all these different realms are going through their own individual cosmic shifts, seasons, and ages. Because the spiral ripple began at the center, it technically means that, at the center, the inner dome or realm is 3,000 years ahead of us. They have already had 3,000 years of Bronze Age, where we in this realm haven't yet. Our reset happened 3,000 years after theirs, which means, during this 7-day cosmic event, anyone able or allowed to enter this inner realm will technically be time traveling 3,000 years into the future, or ahead of time. In layman's terms, I'm saying that this inner domain is 3,000 years ahead of us technologically, physically, mentally, spiritually, and consciously. And yes, this is where we propose the concept of time travel into the future comes from. And on the flip side, as the ripples shifting outwards towards the Mars domain, they would now be 3,000 years behind us. So, going from our plane to theirs, we would be time traveling backwards 3,000 years. So, why on earth do the leaders of the free world think it's necessary to militarize space all of a sudden? And why on earth are space agencies and governments all talking about being the first to colonize Mars? Let's look at the definition of colonization. The act or process of settling among and establishing control over the indigenous people of an area. Or, the action of appropriating a place or domain for one's own use. Makes you wonder if the very same so-called elite royal bloodlines and families who colonized this realm during our reset fall from gold to iron 3,000 years ago are about to do the same thing to this outer domain currently falling from their golden to iron age. As they say, there's nothing new under the sun, and history always repeats itself. With that in mind, let's rewind to something that happened very recently. December 22nd, 2017, the SpaceX Falcon launch. Note the date too, December 22nd, 2017. Wonder how many of you recall the unusual effects witnessed within this particular launch. It looked like the Falcon X was trying to pierce through something. Or perhaps, testing the outer electromagnetic belt or torus field. Kinda makes you wonder, were they trying to beat the clock? Perhaps they succeeded and the secret colonization to Mars is already underway as we speak, hence the militarization of space. However, if they didn't succeed, I'm willing to bet we're going to see another very similar attempt around the same time this year and next. Okay, let's stop for a second. I had to add this after the final edit. This script was written months and months ago. I got this script months and months ago, and as I was developing it, I wondered what would happen mid to late November as I was rendering that part. And the universe didn't let me down. Late November, we have Mars in sight. Crazy. Interdimensional earthly time travel is not just a matter of anyone packing their bags and simply going there. There are obviously many extenuating circumstances, like universal and natural laws, that determine how, when, and who can travel where. For instance, the advanced Bronze and Silver Age beings at the center would not want or allow any primitive Iron Age being from the outside into their domain, as it would unbalance their natural harmonic existence. So anyone here, from this realm, wishing to travel ahead of time into this inner realm would generally need to be quote-unquote ahead of their time here, where we currently are, vibrating at a high frequency spiritually, mentally, physically, mind, body, and soul. Many scriptures call this the days of reckoning, or judgment day, or the return of a messiah or messenger of some kind. In this case, we believe this is the so-called event, the return of Messiah. Anyway, let's move on. Those who are ahead of their time in this realm will somehow be given the opportunity to go up ahead of time into this inner or upper realm when the time comes. Likewise, we also believe that those still lagging or holding on to old, outdated, backwards paradigms will of course naturally be drawn back in time to the outer realm. This is where we hypothesize our current elite establishment is planning on going to install a new world order for those beings out there. Most people in our realm, though, will be staying here, in this domain, after the event, to continue experiencing, learning, and growing in the upcoming new Bronze Age and One World Order. And exactly how or what this new age or order is going to be, who knows exactly, but what we do know is that this domain will not be anything like it currently is today after the event. And so finally, when these 7 days have passed over, January 1st, 2021, on New Year's Day, the first day of the first month of 2021, the electromagnetic torus fields or domes of each domain will fall back into place as they were. The celestial bodies will realign, and once again the wandering planets or suns and moons will resume their natural cycles, seasons, and movements, thus allowing for all the different domains to begin their new respective cosmic solar and celestial ages. And so, the wheels of time will continue to turn, forever moving forward in cyclical cycles and seasons. Now, of course, we're very much aware that what we are proposing may happen seems a little outrageous and possibly overwhelming, or let's face it, you might think this is batsh crazy if you're hearing this kind of stuff for the first time. But we're not trying to preach or sell anything, simply sharing information based on cosmological, astrological, mythological, and observable reality syncretized research. This could all be completely wrong, or even slightly wrong, and if so, that's fine, no harm done, life goes on. Or this could be partially right, or even very close to the truth. At which point, if or when these events occur, at least those of us who will have received this good news will be prepared, mentally, psychologically, and possibly spiritually as well. Of course, right now under this domain, we are collectively going through some very difficult birthing pains as we make this shift. However, those in tune with these changes are adapting and consciously evolving with it. This is the so-called conscious awakening. But even more importantly, those who fully understand what's going on are able to accordingly prepare for the changes that are occurring and coming. This is what J.P. Morgan meant when he was quoted saying, "Astrology. Millionaires don't use astrology. Billionaires do." Astrology is simply the natural science of understanding, reading, recording, and following seasons and cycles of the stars and heavens of our universe. Astro simply means heavens or stars. Logi or logi simply means logs or logging. We are astro-logging, making logs, logging all the data of the stars. That's all astrology is, reading and recording of the heavens, stars, cycles, seasons, and ages. It's even written in all the ancient scriptures that in the last days many will not know the exact time and date, but those with wisdom and discernment of the heavens will be prepared. Keep your eyes to the heavens and look out for the signs of what's to come. So the final question, is all of this intelligently designed, and if so, by whom or what and why? As far as we're concerned, the answer is definitely yes. Everything we've talked about is most definitely intelligently designed. Microcosms of macrocosms, the system and order of our Earth, nature, cosmology, conscious energy, and everything else in our universe is just too beautiful and perfectly symbiotic and synchronized to be a random event or evolutionary. Who or where or what is the creator of all this? Here. Yep, right here in this very room and everywhere else around us and within our universe and beyond. We are all co-creators, conscious spirits, souls, or forces of energy. Everything is energy. Everything is electromagnetic frequency, sound, and vibration, down to the sine wave. Quote-unquote God, any God, all gods, are energy. After all, even religion tells us that God is everything and nothing at the same time, right? The Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, intelligent, conscious, immeasurable, unquantifiable, the source, the creator, just is. And since all of us are little conscious fields of energy, that perhaps we are all small manifestations of a greater conscious field of energy, soul, or spirit. Perhaps all of us are from the same original source, simply experiencing life individually, separate from the whole, little creators, in quality but not quantity, playing a game of cosmic hide-and-seek with ourselves, all part of the same one song, one verse, the universe, just singing in different tunes and octaves at different frequencies, and desperately trying to find a harmonic, melodic balance. And when we do, eventually, individually and collectively find harmony, we will finally be vibrating or singing from the same one verse in our universe. And this is what many mystics, gurus, teachers, cultures, and religions mean when they say we are one. But for now, I think we're extremely far from that, and there's still much learning, exploration, and experiencing and growth to be had on this so-called journey of life before we get to harmony. There are still many seasons to be seen, roles to be played, cosmic ages, seasons, and events to be had amongst all this craziness and confusion we call life. So in conclusion, you, me, all of us are just visitors to this time and place, acting out different roles and characters. Some of us are being directed by various scripts and programs or scriptures, but as we begin to consciously awaken to who, what, where we are, and why we are here, the plot begins to thicken, and some of us have now chosen to completely lose the plot. Why? Because we've decided to start writing our own scripts, our own programs, directing our own lives and movies, and hopefully moving on to the next stage of this experience, learning and growth, in harmony. Nothing that we've talked about today is meant to be a fear campaign, because ultimately there's nothing to fear or be confused or even upset about, whatever stage of life you are at on this journey. As cliche as it sounds, the truth will always set you free. Not necessarily when you lie, but when you've been lied to and you discover the truth. Thank you all for your time and patience. We look forward to the experience of learning, sharing, and growing with you all, regardless of what may or may not happen in our individual and collective lives. We hope you enjoyed this presentation and encourage you to share it as far and wide as you can. We also hope that in time, we can look back at this as proof in and of itself that there are people with eyes to see and ears to hear to help share and guide others to their true truth and destiny. Thank you, and goodbye for now. Hello everybody, this is Norbs. As many of you know, Martin Kenny and I are releasing a great piece of work on December 21st, and I'm over here rendering some of the scenes. And as I'm doing so, I had a pretty cool, mind-bending moment I want to share with you guys. So something that comes up a lot in this body of work of creation is the tree of life, the center of centers of all axes, X, Y, and Z of our universe. Now many call it Mount Meru, the center mountain, which used to be a tree, the tree of life. Now, if this geocentric model is new to you, I'm going to leave links in the description for you guys to catch up. I'm also going to leave links to a couple videos that go over there is no forests. There's no such thing as forest, which is basically people saying, where are all the old trees? If this plane is that old, where are the ancient trees, the huge trees? So they say that the mountains that we see used to actually be trees in previous times. And as I'm modeling some of these scenes, I'm incorporating the tree of life. And my first attempt at it is here. And I'm comparing it to nature, because as Martin likes to say, and I agree, nature doesn't lie. We can have our perceptions and perspectives messed with, but nature cannot lie to us, does not lie to us. So we look towards nature, and I thought this was a really cool shot. But Martin pointed out this isn't the right tree, and I kind of felt that too. But this was the first thing I kind of pulled together and just started looking at. And then I started comparing it to what we do claim our home to be, which is an electromagnetic universe. And we are in the midst of those torus fields as they oscillate and give off vibrations and energies, which is what we are. So I started looking at this and seeing a lot of correlation. But then I took it one step further and took this tree out and replaced it. And in this moment, as I overlaid the tree to the model, I had my mind bending, whoa, wait a minute, this can't be the real reason we celebrate Christmas and are doing this tree ritual, can it? And I started looking at the comparisons. So I'm going to put a Christmas tree side by side with our model here, and just be open-minded as we look at the overlaps and what the potential correlations could be. We look at the tree itself. We'll start at the very bottom. Most Christmas trees are put in that red base with water in it. That could be a correlation to Pluto on the very bottom, which is red, negative polarity, red polarity. Then the tree does sit in water. Then the tree is dressed with lights, which could correlate to our stars. Then the tree is dressed with streamers or tinsel going around the tree in an upwards motion, which could correlate to the way our illuminaries travel upwards and inwards to the summer solstice, and then back down in the winter solstice, ending right around Christmas. We look at the bulbs. Those could be representations of the luminaries that are going around the tree of life. And we look at the very top. We see Polaris, the master star, the biggest star, always represented with an angel or a star. And angels are basically angles of light. They are stars. They are angels, one and the same. And we have the representation on the tree. Putting all that together and then taking it one step further, we have the presents under the tree. That could correlate to our presence here as a species, not presents as in real gifts. Or it could also be the gift of life, presence. It could be when a new realm is being formed and a new sun is born. Sound familiar? I also think, just like the holy books are metaphors to explain our universe, so might be some of the Christmas carols and other rituals we do at that time. Like when I think of Santa Claus and the reindeer, that could be a metaphor for something very big in this geocentric model as well. So if you guys think this is trippy too and want to participate, I'd recommend rip apart every single Christmas carol and see if there's any metaphors that would overlap into this model too. But hey, I'm probably just tripping out, so I'm going to end the video here. Things that make you go, I decided to do this because, as funny as it is for people that are new to the flat plane versus planet concept, when you discover this knowledge and you go deeper and deeper into the knowledge base, then you go back to looking at how our solar system is explained to us. I'm trying to do that here, and it's almost like forcing yourself to believe in Santa Claus again. There's no going back, but for sake of argument and for my own humor and yours, I'd like to rebuild and remodel this the way we're presented, our reality, and then put them side by side to what the flat plane and the Norb theory, the orb theory is. Both are incredible. And I'll actually start with the moon. The moon never shows us its backside. It only rotates this way. Never shows us the backside of it. Never rotates this way. It only shows us that top. Okay, I'm cutting this into the video after I've already edited it, so pardon the background being different, but I had to pause on the moon portion and go back to it because the theory is that the reason we don't see the back of the moon and it never shows its backside is because there is no backside, and apparently it's actually flat. And really, we wouldn't know, and you'll understand why a little bit later in this video when I go over perception and perspective. But for all we know, that is what's happening, and it only rotates this way, right? Then if we take that theory and you think of the rest of the planets, maybe they're all like that, just disks faced towards us, never spinning in any direction but that. These other planets, if you look at actual footage from telescopes and crazy zooms, you never really see a full picture. They always look watery. They always look like just lights, illuminating lights, flashing, blinking, twinkling. So, food for thought. Okay, let's go back. Now I'm also going to make it rotate around the Earth. Okay, so we have the moon going around the Earth, and it's doing its x-axis rotation as it goes around once. And apparently the moon is 237,000 miles, I believe it is, away from us. So now I'm going to go to the Earth group. Okay, just to show you guys what's happened so far. Now we have the Earth spinning, the cloud spinning a bit faster just to give it some realism, and the moon going around us. We're not going to animate the other planets either, because it's going to start looking really ridiculous actually. But let's do one step further now, where we gotta zoom back out 93 million miles away. Alright, so now the Earth is flying around the Sun at, I believe it's 67,000 miles an hour. So we have something like this. The moon's rotating around us. We are rotating 1,000 miles an hour. Both the moon and Earth are rotating around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. Again, we're on the surface, we're not flying off because gravity holds us down apparently, right? Also, just so happens that within the last 50 years, thanks to this beautiful technology, we have discovered that these asteroid fields out there are a danger to us. They never have been in the last millions and millions of years of this apparent planet's existence while it's doing the same fly through infinity with never-changing scenery. But now we can actually tell that an asteroid might be on its way to Earth, and we have to build a defense system to protect ourselves from it. Just now in the last 50 years, never before, but just now because we have the technology to apparently view it, right? So let's go one step further. We're going to take these asteroid belts and also animate them and make sure that they're causing a potential danger, right? Causing a potential danger. We're spinning, baby, we're spinning! Everything's spinning, and somehow we're just not feeling it, and we can't measure it, and we can't reproduce it, and we can't see the actual curvature of that ball unless we're looking through lenses and funny tricks. So here it is, without animating the rest of it just yet. I'm going to animate a few more things, but you'll notice the camera's easing in and out when it's doing its loop. Right around here, it stops and then picks up again. That's not realistic, so I'm just going to spend a moment and make sure that I have everything interpolating properly. We haven't even touched oscillations. This just goes in a perfect loop. Doesn't go up, doesn't go down, doesn't go further out, doesn't go further in. They're not telling us a lot even in this model, just to make it make more sense. Alright, so give me a second here. There we go. Now it should be looping seamlessly without stopping or easing in or easing out. And this is just forever. Now again, oscillations should matter and should be included in this. So in order for me to oscillate this, the Earth would have to be moving up and down as it's going around, and also have to be going in and out, doing its spiral to change seasons and to change all our weather patterns and whatnot. So we're not going to go that far with this. I'm just going to take this one step further now though. Take this to a top view. Zoom out a little bit more so you guys can get a better view. 93 million miles away. Nanu, nanu. Okay, so we're flying 24,000 miles and we're going around the sun 67,000 miles. Now we got to do this too. The sun and all of this is spinning around as well at 500,000 miles an hour. So everything is spinning while we're spinning, while the moon's spinning around us. And now on top of that, 500,000 miles an hour, the next figure is literally everything flying through infinity in the void at whatever millions of miles per hour that is. I forget that figure. Okay, this is parallaxing. Some stars are closer, some stars are farther away. The ones that are closer are going to fly by faster than us, than the ones farther away. The ones farther, really far away, barely move. This is parallaxing. This is when you know you're in a 3D environment, going through space, going through things. But we never see this, and the first star is so far away, it just always looks like this. Always. With a center point right there. If we're focused on Polaris, it would be right there. And a time-lapse video would show perfect trails the same way every single night. No parallaxing. Never flying through actual space. Never observable anyway. Let's do a little test now, shall we? Out of these two spheres, which one is bigger? Which one is smaller? Or are they both the same size? This has to do with perspective. Okay, I'm going to switch this to a double viewport. I'm going to switch this to perspective view. Look at the difference in sizes. This one is simply in the foreground. This one is way in the background, but it's huge. At least 5 times bigger than this one. If I didn't show you this though, you would still see them as being the same size. Maybe even this one being bigger, which in reality it is 5 times smaller. Alright, let's play again. This time there's 3. Which one of these is smallest to biggest? Or are they all the same size? And as you're getting your final answer together, think about when you look up. We don't look up too often, but when you do, how often do you see the sun? How bright can you claim it always is, versus does it always stay the same brightness, the same distance from us? Is it oscillating a little higher up, a little further in towards the center, or a little further out? Is it slowing down or is it speeding up? Is it emitting the same brightness? Is it hitting the same atmospheres? Right? Perception comes into play into everything, especially your reality. Okay, the one on the left is actually the smallest and the closest to us. The one in the middle is the biggest by far, and it's way in the back. The one on the right is right along the center axis. Yet here, they all look like they're in the same plane, right? Until we start doing this. Even then, you don't really know how far or how close each of these really are in relation to each other. Take this into account when you're looking at sun sets, sun rises. It's not actually rising. It's just coming towards you and going away from you. Okay, let's keep going. Here's another one with a couple differences. Which one do you think's bigger or smaller? Which one do you think is lit up a little bit differently? I'm gonna give you guys a moment. Really take a second just to think what else could be different. Well, even if this was a photo from space, they could still really easily trick everybody's perception into thinking it's a sphere, when in reality, it's a plane, a flat plane. With the right lighting, you can make anything look 3D. Okay. While I'm here, I'm going to do one more thing. Okay, so to reverse this, even if we are on a flat plane, if the flat plane is actually a big circle, if we can go high enough, that horizon may very well become curved. But it's not because we are on a sphere. It's because we're still looking at that edge which is curved towards us, right? So even right now, it's already starting to look like a globe, but it's not. It's flat. We're just looking at the very edge which is circling around us. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay. Horizon. We get up to maybe here. With all the technology we have, maybe we see a bit of curvature, but it doesn't mean it's because we're seeing this. It just means we're seeing the edge, which is rounded. I also think if the other model with the orb is true, if they do have technology to go up high enough, they'll see over this edge and potentially see and expose us to the outer lands that are out there. So what better way to hide it than to wrap it all up into a nice little ball? And I'm sorry guys, I'm gonna take your little ball away today. Let me show you how easy it is to take a flat map, turn it into a ball, and hide a piece of it. We've been talking about perspective and perception. We're gonna switch over to this for a second. Map making. Sooner or later you guys are gonna come across the map makers in your journey. And we take for granted how important people that make maps and survey the lands really are. We also take for granted what imaging and technology can do. Take a map that is flat, double it up. I'm going to add a little light here, give it our hotspot from 93 million miles away. Give it a glint so it's nice and shiny. Don't worry, that'll soften up a little later. I'm going to give it an indent so that it gives it a little bit of depth. And here's where the magic comes in. I'm going to give it a sphere effect, which basically takes my map and wraps it. And now I can take the tops and bottoms and hide land. Map makers are really, really important. Perception is really, really important. Don't forget, we start on a flat map. Surveyors survey maps that are flat based. They operate on a flat model. Half the world operates on a flat model. Society was built on a flat model. Railroads, canals, everything operates on a flat model. There's never been mathematics that have included curvature in any of the building of our societies and civilizations of the past. Map makers are really important. We can go one step further now. Drop this into another program. Give it some effects, colors, hue, saturation, etc. And really warp your perception. And from when you're
2, 3 years old, the first time you're playing with a globe. Indoctrination starts young. And as an adult, convincing yourself or others that you've been fooled, it's scary. And even then, I don't think discovering that we live on a flat plane is the scary part. I think people are actually okay with that part. I think the scary part is the why. And once you start going down those trains of thoughts, that's the part that we reject naturally and instinctively. Anyway, map makers are really important. Now let's take a quick look at how the sun hits us. This is a representation of the sun over water in a hot spot, and this reflection would be going towards you because it's water. This is only possible on a local sun, not when it's 93 million miles away to have a hotspot like that. Here it's the same hotspot, but it's opened up bigger, the sun is brighter, the sun's fall off is a lot different, and then here it's fully blown out, and then here it's minimized. The average person does assume that the sun just goes in one big loop and doesn't have too much variations in how high, how much it oscillates inwards and outwards, how bright it shines, what the fall off is, etc. Here's another one. I'm curious if your perception picks up that this is going around us in a big loop, or is the sun just going from behind us, creeping up, giving us light, going over us, and then just going farther and farther away instead of actually going down. Right, we start losing brightness and it starts going out of view and it's gone. Is it going up and down, or is it going over us? And then when it gets way out of view, it just loops around and comes back around behind us and in front of us again. We see our shadows being caused. Going back to perception, I'm wondering if you guys can tell, is this light going around the Earth in a circle? Or is it just going over it in a straight line? And how would you know? If perspective is everything, right? Okay, let's go back to what they're telling us for a second though. I want to show you what we don't see. That is the sun. It shines in every direction, very bright, according to them. What we don't see it do is hit us with the beams being spread into an actual spotlight from 93 million miles away. We don't see it doing that. We wouldn't see it doing that. It's impossible from 93 million miles away to cause a hotspot on one little part, unless it really was a spotlight, unless our sun really is an actual spotlight, and they can control it the same way I'm controlling it here, giving it its spread, its fall off, its intensity on how bright that whole thing is going to be, and then how the hotspots will be hit and how far away seemingly this is. So to wrap up this point, I'm basically saying the average person doesn't understand 3D programs and perspectives the way 3D artists or artists in general do, because we get taught perspective as one of the first steps in art. And the average person doesn't take into account intensity, fall off, the day-to-day differentiation of the suns and moons, and their oscillations as they spiral inwards and back outwards over the course of the seasons. So perspective really is everything. You don't know by looking at it how far away it is from us, but you do know by ways of lighting, shadows, and understanding how lighting and perspective would work on a grand scheme when you're working with a light source coming from 93 million miles away versus a light source that is local. Now, like I mentioned before, if we are living on a flattish disk that's round, if we get high enough, we'll still see what we could perceive as a curve, right? But this isn't that. This is an actual sphere, a globe that we're looking at. And as we get higher, your perception definitely would see more and more curvature as you look downwards. But not only that, I think a lot of things people take for granted is when you see the far shots with cameras that can do crazy zooms and you still see things upright, that doesn't make sense. And let me explain why. Now, of course, this isn't to scale, but you guys get the picture.
The further away we go from things, if we're on a curved surface, then everything has to be upright according to its center point of perspective. So going outwards, and going outwards, and going outwards, and going outwards, the cameras we have these days would pick this up. Let me go from this way, so the lighting's better. Okay, I didn't actually even do this properly because these should be curved that way a bit too. If we are really sitting on this perspective, then they'd all be kind of like that as well. But okay, let's just skip that for a second. We would see over the course of distance, A, only a limited field of view, and B, as we get further and further away, things would naturally seem to twist away from us, going that way, more and more and more and more, right? The further away we go from something, the further away we would start to see that. And if we can get a shot 1,000 miles away, not only would it be curved like that, but it would be way below our point of view because of the curvature itself. We wouldn't be able to see around the globe. Refraction or no refraction. And yet, the way we look at things, everything is straight, as if it's built straight up. Nothing is built going outwards in every direction. Photos would illustrate that, especially aerial shots. A huge aerial shot would show all kinds of curve on the sides of buildings. Everything would seemingly go away from you. And as you pan around, let's say we're going up in a hot air balloon and we get really high, as we panned around, everything would be skewed really far away from us. So let me read this to you guys. Her name is Cici Kalichan, or Kalichan. Hope I got that right, one of those. She says, I have the ability to communicate with beings beyond this dimension. The imagery of my work has led me to an appreciation of the world we live in and the world beyond this world that are interconnected. The structures depicted in this artwork are combined frequencies which can be interpolated as musical, mathematical, electrical, or script descriptions. I believe these frequencies can be deciphered with some manner of code breaking. I speculate that extraterrestrial beings communicate through emissions of individual symbols from the electromagnetic technology, which is consequently understood by the conscious mind as information. She goes on to say, I feel like I'm in school and higher intelligences are instructing and teaching me. It's almost like a thesis, a work in progress. It has opened my mind to the bigger picture, which includes biology, neurology, physics, astronomy, astrophysics, theology, philosophy, spirituality, technology, anthropology, archaeology. I feel I am in school and higher intelligences are instructing and teaching me. After the work, it forces me to read and learn what they have suggested. It has awakened me to a higher consciousness and awareness. I learned to see life differently and how everything is interconnected by a mathematical order, balance, and harmony that flow within us and beyond. This art progressed in groups at a time, telling me something that I was not aware of until the next body of artwork was completed. It took approximately 10 years before I realized that specific information was being relayed to me through this art-making process. I think that's beautifully said. I think that encapsulates a lot of artists' purposes. Why are we talented? Why do we have these gifts? Why do we see things, hear things before they're even there, and then execute them to be just as we saw or heard them? Sometimes I question my own abilities and art skills and whatnot, and while they have done a lot for me, they have freed me financially, spiritually, broken society's chains off of me, it's a confusing place to be, to have a label of being an indigo kid, or a star seed, or someone here to help raise the vibration of the planet. Every creative person I feel has the ability to help raise the vibration of the planet. Even in my business path in life, my biggest accomplishment to date was developing music production software, over 20 titles, and moving hundreds of thousands of units, both free and paid, to kids to help them discover music production. And now if that isn't helping raise the vibration of the planet, hundreds of thousands of kids are learning how to make music and be harmonious with sound. I feel like that's been my biggest accomplishment and purpose to date. And now, being taken from a starving artist mode to having abundance, it loops back around once you're done spending money and enjoying life as it was supposed to be enjoyed, and all the rewards that come with having these talents and finding yourself. You come back around and you say, okay, I've done it all, I've achieved this success thing, and now what? And you start going down, or I started going down, a spiritual journey. Now what? What else can I do with these talents and skills? What's my next purpose now that I've accomplished this thing of freeing myself and of sharing the beauty of music in a way where I'm helping other kids create it, teaching them on YouTube how to do it? What else can I do for both myself and for this world? What good can I use these talents for? And in an abstract way, yeah, it's this. This phase, this body of artwork that I'm creating and producing is coming from within. It's sending me down paths to learn information and then learn more information even once I present it to you guys. Meaning, since I've posted that first Norbzworld video, I have learned a lot from you guys, even in the comments section, throwing your 2 cents in, some very detailed and beautiful knowledge, and obviously going down other branches of information that this has led me down through other videos and other just knowledge paths. Some people meditate, some people pray, some people alter their consciousness with drugs or mind-altering substances. Some people do very abstract things in life and do extreme things in life, again, to alter their states of consciousness, to feed consciousness, to feed experience. And for me, it's creativity. It's actually creating something to look at, to listen to pull an emotion or give an emotion from, hopefully positive ones. Also, in the search for duality versus monoism, good and evil, presenting itself and deciphering between the two, or only showing light, only showing positivity, I have a hard time with that. I think one is needed for the other to be appreciated. So not all of my bodies of work are rainbows, butterflies, unicorns, and perfect bliss only. There is hints of pain, of frustration, of creepiness maybe. And so in the previous video, I oversaturated it in any way I could to touch emotions, including some pain or some confusion or some anxiety, but I disclaimered it at least. Not everyone in life gives you disclaimers. I even learned recently, although it's not new, it's new to me for some reason, this whole 144,000 people, beings, souls, spirits that have been sent here that are all being activated now to help bring change. Apparently our DNA is supposed to be reactivated. We are supposed to start remembering things. We are supposed to start receiving messages in various ways to disperse, decode, and spread. Some say heaven on earth. Some say we're moving out of our iron age of blindness and darkness. Some say it's the Palladians coming back to reawaken us, their cousins. As I close this out, again, a very big thank you for listening. I know I talked a lot about myself in this video, just to give you guys a bit of insight on who I am. And if you do watch future videos, you feel a bit of oneness with me. But this isn't about me, really. This is about you. This isn't for everyone. This message, these visuals, and I'm aware of that now, it's not for everyone. But if you're on this video, I do want to say to you, you're loved, you're special, you don't have fear, you do have intent, you do have purpose. And maybe for now it's just understanding and exploration and critical thinking and deprogramming. I love you. You love you. This universe loves you. And if you haven't yet, you're going to start today to live with intent. And if you don't know what your intent is just yet, you're going to start to find out as of today. I feel like my purpose is to actually awaken other creative types. So if you're on here and you are into music production, you draw, you paint, you do graphic design, you dance, you are an expressionist, you know how to encapsulate a moment or an emotion or a vision or a sound and express it through beauty. I think my message goes furthest with you guys, to take what you're seeing and feeling and further express it in your own way to at least produce more beauty in this world. More love. I think that's going to be my slogan. More love. Anyway, thank you. I love you.
It's 2045. You are no longer human. You are transhumanist cyborg 2.0. I'm I'm an automaton, a hybrid robot bitch. But they turned off my chip, now I can't eat, sleep, or do shit. And I didn't do anything wrong, I just voiced my opinion. But this algorithmic preemptive crime cop wouldn't listen. Now I can't be a natural human anymore, this war is a drip. I'm just a digital demon running on nothing but nanoscripts. Genetic, neurological re-engineering of humanity. Accelerate stem cell research and fast forward nanotechnology. Imagine being in a perpetual state of 10 orgasms. He didn't even need it, but Eve still managed to force the core atom. Human augmentation, fake reality laid over mine. It's almost real, just a few things seem out of line. I'm not sure what the fuck is real anymore, girl or a guy. We're all transformers now, more than meets the. They got you used to looking at these feminine yet masculine faces. Glitch in your brain, sending your sexuality weird places. Accept the agenda or you'll put us all in cages. It's trans everything, trumps everyone. It's outrageous. Don't you find it strange? Being straight makes you contagious. Evil dies slow and they do it through phases. Greatest of all time, the Baphomet, we so close. Symbols in our movies, music and gender neutral clothes. Gematria and shapes hide sacred alchemy and codes. I'm just reverse engineering the globe. And I'm flattered that you mentioned it. Bubble thoughts and domes. Babushka doll life, we live in the Atlantean row. But this life is all backwards and the times are in show. I'm a real man, apparently so was Marilyn Monroe. And if voting made a difference, they wouldn't let us do it. Listen, don't cheat, lie or steal, cause the government hates competition. Propaganda makes you hate the victims and praise the oppressors. Subversion of the world and they keep applying the pressure. Genetically modified foods, genetically modify you. War on the people is easy if you own the water and fruits. Breaking down your family and making your stupid brain dilution. Ordo abgao, 33rd-degree problem reaction solution. And our body movements and cycles are luckily still unused. They produce usable sellable energy for them to abuse. You'll be active to make money and social points one day soon, yo. Dump your day's worth of energy production to prove you were useful. And then biology will be used to drive technology. Watch, you'll create the energy to power your own golden handcuffs and watch. Nanotechnology. Yo, get the fuck off, get the fuck off, get the fuck off, get the fuck off. The closer and closer we get to singularity. Artificial intelligence is replacing you and me. Pretty soon the earth won't need the human species. You get a chip in your body, that's the mark of the beast. Eradicate the natural human journey rapidly. Consciousness to disc, reversing our DNA and anatomy. The future's here, I got cyborgs looking after me. My wife's a robot and George Jetson buys crack from me, yo. More love, more love, more love, more love, more love, more love. All love, all love, all love, out, 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 out.